Of course, Monday morning, several conversations to have, of which, top of that, there were lots and lots of sad reports over the weekend that pops up lots more questions on the minds of Nigerians, looking at the fact that after the Ibadan Stampede, we still went on to have another one in Anambra and have another one in Abuja. And it raises just several questions in the minds of Nigerians. What's really happening here? But of course, several reactions out of that. We see state governments that's, beefing up protocols for having any kind of philanthropic activity, within its command, as it were. So there's a lot of issues that we are looking at on Rise and Shine this morning. We're also seeing that about 10 ministries will be getting over 1 trillion naira in the 2025 budget. So quite some strong conversations that we're going to be having on the show this morning. And like we're just pushing ahead with some of the initiatives brought to light by the Tinubu-led administration, and what's the way forward with all that is happening around us. Well, of course, we're going to have this conversation, Francis on set. We're definitely going to be delving into the rest of these stories this Monday morning. We'll implore you to be a part of the conversation, to follow us across all social media platforms, all of which you can find at spectrumtvlive.ng. The phone lines are available for you to be a part of the conversation, so we do implore you to join the conversation this morning. We'll take a quick breather, and in a moment we'll just delve right into the stories that we have lined up for you on Rise and Shine this Monday morning. All right, Francis, welcome on the show this morning. Good to have you. How's your weekend?
Good morning, Uyai. Good morning to you, our esteemed viewer, and thanks for joining us this beautiful Monday morning. 23 days already. 25th is tomorrow. I would say I'm excited about the Christmas. As for how I am, pretty much okay. I hope you had a refreshing weekend.
No, nothing was refreshing about my weekend. I was at work. So yeah.
You missed out yesterday, I remember. I'm sorry. I'll find a way to make it up to you.
story for the gods. Story for the gods. But yeah, we are here again. It's Monday morning.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. Today it's a little bit cold. Or should I say
That's in terms of the
in terms of the weather. I don't know. I'm just in between thoughts of how, tomorrow Christmas Eve and Christmas Day celebration is going to be like. And then the stories over the weekend, the tragic incident of people dying as a result of, charity event meant to help, bring succor to people who do not have enough to celebrate the Christmas. thing that literally messed up with my senses all over that. I mean, all throughout the weekend, and the absolute lack of commitment, and then the politicizing of virtually everything. When you look at the comments coming from the PDP and other political parties as far as the incident is concerned, I kind of had to take a moment and ponder on whether or not this is actually the right time for political parties and politicians to cast aspersion on the opposition or the ruling party. We're talking about a loss of lives, we're talking about families being affected, we're talking about people that, have left behind families, friends, loved ones who would never get to see them again because of a tragedy that could have been prevented. Is that the problem of the federal government? Is it the problem of the organizers who didn't put measures in place for crowd control? A lot of people come from different standpoints, but that for me was the most heartbreaking story of the weekend.
Definitely, the most heartbreaking story of the weekend. It's a reaction that we see across the entire country. It's a really, really sad incident. But just, further looking into some of the detail with that particular story, we know that of course, the Stampede in Abuja was with a religious organization where we saw a wing of the Catholic Church in Abuja trying, of course, like Francis said, to reach out to the vulnerable, provide food aid and all of that, and then still ended in a stampede. When I looked at the pictures and the videos coming out, I think I was really more upset than being emotional about the fact that people passed. I was literally upset, and I argued, I screamed, because common sense would say, and I was asking, is it that people don't listen to the news, you don't watch TV, now that everything trends, the organizers of the, philanthropic events, didn't they see that a stampede happened in your state? It would naturally mean that any other person who is considering something in that line would try to reorganize its strategy and the protocol around the event. It should just go without a saying, but alas, as we always say in Nigeria, common sense is not common at all, because that's where we see the result of this. Same issue, we're trying to get people in, we're trying to get people settled in to share what we have, and next thing, one thing leads to the other. We are losing people, we're losing mothers. Several mothers were lost in Abuja, and that's a problem. So we've lost children, we're now losing fathers and mothers in a bid to, just get rice. And that's the question. Nigerians are even also screaming about the fact that they're cooking without onions. In my house over the weekend, we're calling it black gold because black gold is not available for kitchen practice. So that's a major problem that we have on our hand. But then the conversation also just shifts from organizing this, charity event to the fact that let us now squarely, and I think that at this point the president should sit by himself, squarely look into, this is the culmination of when we say Nigerians have been living in what we call the difficulty promax in the year 2024. This is just where it ends. This is the headline. These stampedes are the headlines that define what citizens have been having to struggle with, to grapple with in the entire year. How do we have it replicate itself in 3 states of the nation? People just trying to get some quantity of food to be able to go by. I mean, if you're going to use English language, it's worse than preposterous. And we shouldn't be having this conversation. At this point, you're going to get the likes of Ananuga sending statements, a statement from the presidency, the president condoling with the family of people that have lost their lives. Before taking these measures, we would have thought about what the impact is going to be on the people. And beyond this, what are the strategies that the federal government is going to put in place ahead of 2025? Because the journey still continues at this point.
Well, it's a lot of, it gives a lot of worry, gives a lot of concern, gives a lot of things to ponder about. Coming from the standpoint of the organizers, being a part of event, management and coordination and hosting, one of the basic things you look out for is security and safety at the event. That tops the priority list when you're planning for an event. And it varies depending on the kinds of event you're planning for. And in this context, you're looking at an event that will bring in hundreds of people who are hungry, who are starving, and who are coming with the mindset that whether or not that food distribution process is enough for everybody, I must go back with something for myself and my family. And so the organizers should have known way ahead of time to make adequate preparations, to have enough security details on ground, enough crowd control measures, mechanisms on ground, and of course ensure that this is prevented. Now, when you look at some of the footages and the pictures coming out from the event grounds, you literally would see that the organizer had not projected the turnout, the numbers of people that come out, whether it's in Abuja or the one in Anambra State. Both events, people did not anticipate the high number of people that are, the organizers rather, that are going to come out. That is on one end. Now, when you saw the turnout, the next thing to have been done would have been to immediately, before even kickstarting the event, go into proactive steps or remedial measures, which would have meant reaching out for more security personnel to be available on ground, taking extra caution as far as crowd control is concerned, and probably figuring out a way to make sure that people could possibly remain in their seats, and then you just do the distribution. That would have been able to avoid the stampede. But seeing the likes of the Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu cancelling his routine, the event that he was scheduled for the weekend because of the stampede, in a way to honor the memories of these Nigerians who lost their life, unfortunately, the tragic incident, talking about the Stampedes. And then, of course, we saw the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, also following suit in that direction. We saw the immediate past President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, also follow suit. We've seen reaction from Peter Obi, we've seen reaction from Atiku Abubakar, and all others who have taken a cue as to what could have been done and what should not be done as far as the Stampede is concerned. But the big lesson organizers should learn here is the lessons the federal government has spoken to and every other right-thinking individual would speak to, which is taking appropriate measures when you're planning for an event of this magnitude or for an event of this kind, when you know the economic reality of the things in the country, you know the level of hunger and starvation, the level of poverty in the country, and the possibility of whatever expected numbers you had planned for being tripled because of the reality. So planning for such event would require an extra precautionary measure at this critical period. Everybody literally wants to have something to eat for Christmas, and that you cannot take away from the persons that came out to attend this event. That is on one end. I'll always ask the question, why do we in Nigeria rise up after tragic incidences have happened? The Nigerian police force have moved to investigate the processes, investigate the organizers, whether there was absolute adequate crowd control measures, and now the Lagos state government is moving to ensure that people who organize such events will now have special clearance from the Nigerian police force and all the security agencies before the event can actually take place. And I ask, why have we in Nigeria, over the years that we've existed, not thought about what to do when you're organizing events such as that? Some weeks ago, we were talking about the fact that when the federal government of Nigeria is embarking on verification exercise, or the state government across the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT are embarking on verification for people within the employ of the federal or the state civil service, as the case may be, even in their own preparations, the plan and forget to think with their human consciousness to know,
We are dealing with a specific demographic, looking at the aged, looking at people who are probably not in the best state of health, looking at people who are old, people who are fragile, and should be treated with extra caution and care. I was, within the course of the weekend, the verification exercise happening at the state secretariat, you would just sit down and watch the category of people who are coming in and how they are struggling. For those of them who do not have cars, which of course majority of them do not have, struggling to walk all the way from the entrance of the secretariat along Kabak Road inside down to the venue where the screening exercise is happening. Some of them alone, some of them with little children. Now, if we were a government and a people who are conscious about the welfare, about the safety, about the security of people entrusted to us, and if we were a people who were also conscious of the fact that at some point we will also be on the other side of the divide. Yes, not contextually talking about, the hunger and starvation situation in Nigeria, but in terms of welfare, in terms of care, in terms of security, in terms of taking proactive measures to guarantee that people who come out for different exercises are well cared for, are well properly taken care of. That everybody who is sitting in the high exalted position would take extra measures for security of lives and property, and we won't be witnessing this kind of tragedy. It's a rather sad scenario playing out in Nigeria, but this has been on for a long time. And I dare say the investigation that is happening, even if you end up, prosecuting some individuals for what the police force and the Nigerian government has described as negligence on the part of the organizers, will that bring back the lives of the, tens of people who have died already? Will it replace their role, their place, the vacuum created in their respective families?
Well, there's a lot of concern there. Medicine after death, that's the approach that we're seeing. And maybe some other persons would say better late than never, that we even have the opportunity for them to think about this. Like I said the first time that the Ibadan story broke out, it was time for everyone to have become proactive, but we still waited. We're looking at a total number of about 67 persons, 35 children. We had about 22 persons lose their life in Okija, Anambra State, and then we had about 10 people lose their lives in Abuja during the stampede. So we're looking roughly 67 persons losing their life in the midst of all of this. Now, the flip side to the story is in the reactions that we saw, the likes of Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, the likes of Obi Ezekwesili, several prominent people in Nigeria have reacted to this particular incident that happened. But then there were now issues of political undertone coming out of the reactions of some of these persons, and the federal government is now asking and pleading with individuals to try as much as possible not to politicize what is going on in the country. And on the one hand, that would be a perfect conversation to have, but there is politicizing the conversation is a different thing. But there is no way we are going to be able to have the conversation, look at it squarely, and take out the government from the mix, because this is an outright failure of government. And let's be fair to ourselves, this is not the first Christmas where we're seeing a lot of persons trying to organize this kinds of event. We have not recorded this level of what will I call it, successive stampedes happening in the country, because there was a time that a lot more persons would be able to afford that bag of rice that they're going to go get and standing on the queue and all of that, and they would just stay back in their home, because alas, a bag of rice is 35,000 naira. So if I had saved up a couple of months as a minimum wage earner, I would have been able to buy myself a bag of rice. An average family, no matter what they earned in time past, were able to get themselves a bag of rice. Some people did quarter bag, some people did half bag. But we're saying that a lot more families can't even do that. People can't even, afford what do we call it? Painter buckets, custard buckets of rice. People can't. So the hunger is really, really, intense. And this comes on the back of the ripple effects of the policies of the Tinubu-led administration. Wherein lies the main conversation that we are having. Is there a way to mitigate this? We're talking about transportation, and the federal government said tomorrow that price slashing, transit, and you're doing it in only 2 states. Is it that people only live in Abuja and live in the area of Lagos and want to travel to the rest of the country? That's that's the only place that 50% price slash in transportation fare was granted to Nigerians. What then happens to food? What are the ways that the people have been shored up to go through this season? We're having a conversation over the weekend in New York. I was in transit, and I've seen several trucks of rice. When people, they've organized hampers, put a ribbon on it, and these things are just passing, and we are wondering, where are the bags of rice coming from? Where are they going to? And certain people that live on a particular street where that is close to the Hilltop Mansion, you're just seeing these vehicles of rice coming out of the Hilltop Mansion, and you're wondering, did we have a bonanza of rice at the Hilltop Mansion? And the next question is, where is it going to? So you even see that even with the issue of rice, that even the government wants to give as palliative. Even the government politicizes its own palliative strategy, so that becomes a problem. And then we're also looking at it. If we want to do these things, Francis, you really do have 5,000 bags of rice, and you're going to a particular community and a particular area. I also do think that you can just get volunteers, and then you go house to house, door to door, knock, drop a bag of rice, whatever package you came with, drop a bag of rice, whatever you came with. I know that sometimes they say, we have medical outreach and all of the likes. Yes, carry a doctor per house also, as much as you can. Do what you can. Maybe when you get to a street, you get 10 people, attend to them, because we can collaborate with a mosque, collaborate with the church. We see these things where in some churches they want to give palliatives. You just come to a service day and these palliatives are available on your seats. We didn't make an announcement, right? So we do not have an influx of people coming. We cater to the people that come, or you take it directly to the community. Interface with the community leaders if they can be trusted also, because everybody's greedy in Nigeria. But we find a way to make it out. We don't need all of these kinds of things. It's such a sorry situation that we've had this year already, and I hope that this is strong enough. Well, like I said, better late than never. We now have policies. Very soon we'll to find a place and reflect in the constitution. Protocols for hosting philanthropic events.
Protocols indeed. But I'm not worried about the aftermath of what these might bring, because it is still going to be same whole conversation. Archbishop Christian Okor, the CAN chairman, in its reaction while lamenting the horrible situation and appreciating the fact that virtually all Nigerians are mourning with their families of the demise of the departed souls who tragically, by virtue of the tragedy, lost their lives. Also pointed to certain things. One, when the incident happened at the first time, what other measures, because it is not like it happened in seclusion and so nobody in the country knew, this has happened. And we didn't even have to wait for it to happen before other churches or other
organizations, private persons,
put that into consideration. Now, and then he went further to talk about the fact that this has highlighted a deep vacuum when it comes to event, and the fact that it is absolutely impossible to organize charitable event without having proper crowd control mechanism in place. Now, like I said earlier on, the big question we would ask at this point would be, did the organizers, the church and the private charity organizations, have a certified or a trained event planner handle this event? Or was it just the church coming together and doing their normal thing without taking into consideration the fact that for this level of event, there's a need for crowd control measures? Because if the different scenarios, from the first to the last Stampede incident that has happened, if we had an event planner, then the prosecution will be channeled towards the event planner. That is, if of course the organizers had given the right information. Oh, this is what we are doing. This is the level of publicity we've done. This is the projected number of the people we are expecting. And then the event planner would know that for this level of activity, for this level of engagement, for the number of people you are expecting, this must be put in place to ensure that we do not have any issue. If that had been done, we would have avoided up to 80-90% of what is happening. Yes, we know there is hunger in the land. Yes, we know there is starvation. Everybody's literally looking for food. But then, nobody wants to die in the process of looking for food.
Nobody.
I mean, if the people wanted to die in the first place, they wouldn't come out to look for food to sustain themselves and their families. But it has happened, and we are hoping that all the secure societies, non-governmental organizations, churches, and even government officials who are planning to do giveaways, like you mentioned, I think on Saturday I saw a couple of trucks, just going to
everywhere,
different destinations. Oh, bags of rice. Okay, each of the politicians is planning to do, some giveaway. But then you ask the question: will this giveaway actually get to the people who need it, or is just another political settlement? Oh, you supported me during the election. Yes, this is your Christmas settlement package. Enjoy with your family, while the rest of the people are living in abject poverty. Now, just recently when Governor Pastor Omono gave some palliatives in Akwa State, one of the issues that were raised was that even local government chairmen took the rice to this. Some local government chairmen took the rice to their local government and then took it back without giving it to the people that they were meant for.
Aye.
While there are others, the essays of the governor, who took the extra steps to make sure that house by house, everybody perceived as a needy person, as a poor person, got that palliative. Now, if we all were to grow a conscience, and even if you don't have a conscience, at least have human understanding or sympathy, to understand that yes, you are where you are today because of this other group of people who gave you that mandate in trust. Even if you stole it by some criminal measures, or you rigged yourself, or you stole your way through, you are there because you were able to steal their mandate and get to that position. So one way or the other, it is still the mandate of the people that has put you wherever you are today, whether it's a political appointment or is an elected office. So your first and primary responsibility should be also to cater to the needs of the people. Because guess what? If the people do not exist to put you in there, you will not be there. And if the people decide that you're not going to be there, no matter how much of a criminal you are as a politician, you still will not be able to be there. So it is a clarion call. While we're now trying to think around policies to deal with these, one thing I would advocate is for political parties and politicians to learn not to politicize everything. Because if you look at the comment coming from Atiku Abubakar, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, and he's blaming the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, for the level of hunger, the level of poverty, the level of hike in food prices, which has necessitated what is happening now. You would literally feel that this has become another cheap move to score a political goal. What happens to first and foremost dealing with the hearts of Nigerians who are broken, especially the immediate family members of these individuals? I particularly appreciate the comment coming from President Muhammadu Buhari and the likes of Peter Obi about the incidents that have happened. Yes, it has shown the depth of lack Nigerians are experiencing, but then it could have also been avoided. And of course, calling on the president to do a lot more in making sure that Nigerians do not continue to suffer. That is being objective, that's being fair. But when you're trying to put all of the blame on the government for something that happened because of the inability of even the event organizers to also put in the right things in place, that is more or less like just trying to score political goals, when in reality, this is not about politics. This is about individuals in Nigeria, or Nigerians not taking the necessary steps that should have been taken for such events.
Well, Now, this is Atiku Abubakar's, statement out of that, because sometimes, a lot of things just happen. It is with a heavy heart and deep sorrow that I receive yet again the heartbreaking news of lives lost in tragic stampedes, this time in Okija, Anambra, and Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, resulting in the untimely passing of many. The anguish is all the more unbearable as these recent tragedies strike just days after the devastating loss of nearly 3 dozen innocent children in a similar stampede at a fun fair in Ibadan, Oyo State. On behalf of my family, I extend my sincerest condolences to those who have lost, loved ones in today's tragic events. Our thoughts and prayers are with the grieving families, that they may find solace, and with the departed, that they may rest in eternal peace. Now, we also stand in solidarity with the people and government of Anambra and the Federal Capital Territory, and extend our heartfelt sympathies to the Catholic Church, especially up to the Holy Trinity Catholic Church in Maitama. All right. So it is imperative that those entrusted with the organization of such a large-scale event take the utmost care in crowd management, prioritizing the safety and well-being of all participants. That was Atiku Abubakar. That was all. He didn't call government. Just that. He didn't even sneeze. And to be fair to Atiku Abubakar, this is, rare. He didn't sneeze government anywhere in his, statement in light of all of this. And so sometimes also you don't want to see that, the federal government is ahead of itself. Now, Dr. Bukola Saraki, the news of tragic loss of over 35 young lives in Ibadan has shaken me to my core. As a father, I can't imagine the unbearable pain those parents are going through. This tragedy demands a thorough investigation by the authorities to ensure accountability and prevent such incidents from ever happening again. My family and I extend our deepest condolences to the grieving families, the people of Ibadan, and Oyo State government. We pray for healing for the injured and strength for everyone impacted by this terrible loss. End of quotes. End of quotes. That's Bukola Saraki, of course. And several other people. I don't think I'm going to have to go through everybody's own. I probably just look for Peter Obi, because maybe the brunt of this is going to be between Peter Obi and Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Now, Obi Ezekwesili said the same thing, and at this point, she also did not call out the government.
Now let's get to the People's Democratic Party. Of course,
the People's Democratic Party is different from Atiku Abubakar.
Yes, but they are one and the same.
They're not one and the same.
Atiku Abubakar is a member of the PDP, is he not?
So it doesn't mean that Atiku Abubakar was the one that read that. They have publicity secretary.
All right, but let's look at the comment coming from the People's Democratic Party. The People's Democratic Party (PDP) has described the 3 recent food stampedes in Nigeria as an ugly testament to the alarming level of misery, poverty, hunger and starvation, sense of hopelessness and desperation for survival currently plaguing our nation under the President Bola Tinubu-led All Progressive Congress (APC) government. In a statement, the PDP spokesman, Debo Logunabo, said the tragic stampedes of private food distribution event in Oyo, Anambra State and Abuja, which claimed the lives of over 60 citizens, could have been averted. We all agree. The PDP commiserated with the families of the victims of the 3 food queue stampedes and called for urgent medical attention for the survivors. Now, the party said the PDP. Okay, I've already stated that. Let's go into the other details of what the PDP said. Now, they said the Tinubu government should immediately review the hasty implementation of the suffocating policies of abrupt increase in the price of petroleum product and the floating of the naira, despite the crippling consequences on the productive sector and live discounting effect on the citizenry. The PDP calls on Nigerians to hold the Tinubu-led APC administration responsible for the remote cause of these tragic occurrences, for which it must recompense. Our party insists that any administration that is sensitive and cares for the people would have since introduced intervention programs to ease the suffering and improve on the welfare of the masses, which is the primary purpose of government. That's according to the PDP. Now, the politicization comes in here. you stated out the fact that yes, the Tinubu's administration has made some policies that has driven Nigeria's economy aground, even when the presidency and the federal government continue to make excuses and continue to ask Nigerians to exercise patience and live in hope that things are going to turn around pretty soon. Now, when the party admits that the Nigerian people, the Nigerian society should hold the presidency accountable, yes, he's the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but when you are talking about palliative, let's be honest with ourselves. Is it enough? The answer is no. But have the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration made efforts to give palliative to Nigerians? Yes, they have. Have the governors at their respective state level also made those efforts? Yes, they have. But then let's look at the PDP as an opposition. Because most times when we sit down as opposition, when we finish the elections, everybody forgets that when you were campaigning for election, you had the means and the wherewithal to give people food, to give people wrapper, to give people a lot of things. But after the election, the question I want us to consider this morning is opposition all about criticizing government? Is opposition all about pointing out the fault of the present administration? Is opposition absolutely incapable of also presenting some solutions within their own coverage area, within their own powers and capabilities to also remedy the situation in Nigeria? Yes, you are not the party in power, but there are politicians in the PDP who can vouch for the votes of Nigerians. There are politicians under the platform of the PDP who are currently occupying a lot of positions. Yes, they are doing things in their state, but can the PDP as a party also carry something, provide some level of succor, some level of relief to the people of Nigeria? Or is it that just when you're done with election, because you have not won the election at the federal level, the PDP cannot put itself together, and as a party, the same way they will run around the country canvassing for vote, giving money, giving food items, doing everything to Nigerians to garner the vote, that they cannot also do that now that Nigerians are dying in hunger and starvation and poverty? Can the People's Democratic Party do that? Now, that is on the one end. The second part of this conversation would be blaming the food shortage, the food scarcity, and everything entirely on the present administration. If we are to look at the insecurity, it dates back to the PDP era. It didn't start with the APC era. Yes, it got worse. It may have gotten worse within the APC leadership, but it started with the PDP's leadership of former President Goodluck Jonathan. And it had continued to where we are presently. You live away from that insecurity. Let's come down to the activities of Nigerians. Just recently we were talking about the fact that, the major problem, one of the major causal factors why we have food insecurity or hiking food prices is also the activities of Nigerians who are traders. It comes down to the government. It comes down to the people. So when we are casting blames, when we are pointing, accusing fingers, yes, it is good to be a strong opposition, but can we be opposition that is also fair to the government? Can we be an opposition that look at all sides of the coin as to why things are happening the way it is happening? Can we be an opposition that also tries within our own abilities and capabilities to profess solutions to the problem Nigerians are currently facing?
Well, there's a lot of reactions that we can, take out of this. I am really not of the opinion that these statements were politicized, because you can call a bull, and things will still go on the way they are. Is it true that the policies have taken us, here is part of the truth? And then someone calling it out in their statement, I really don't think that that's politicizing and going through, because sometimes when we talk about politicizing, we are talking about some key opponents that we see in the system. And having gone through Haji Atiku Abubakar's personal statement as a result of this, there was no mention of government in between. Same goes for Peter Obi. So we just do cross-referencing of people who do not like these individuals as opposition, and we try to banter and say that they made it political. No, they didn't. Both their statements did not, asperge any form of blame on the government. just rather looking at how we can move forward. But this is where I'm going to rest this conversation. 2 key reactions that we take off social media. Now looking at X, Tolulokwe Cotton says stampedes in Nigeria are not only because of hunger. So I'll add, not only because of government. We need a reorientation in Nigeria. Our me first syndrome is our greatest weakness. Whether scrambling for freebies, whether scrambling for employment interviews, or boarding or reboarding an aircraft, we are always chaotic and disorganized as people because, and I totally also do agree. So there's the one end that this has been pepped up by the hunger and policies. But let's look at ourselves as humans. We are, maybe let me borrow to Lokwe's words, chaotic as a people. Why can't you just wait for your turn to come? You're at a bank queue. You want to push another person and get forward. And this is a major problem. So we're still having the conversations of reorienting, Nigerians. Our minds are still enslaved by the give me, help me, I'm about to die kind of behavior. And that's a problem. And, someone was talking about, Idara Isang said, I have advocated severally that citizens take responsibility into their hands to make the country work. Are citizens doing enough? Do you really think that we are doing enough as citizens? The people are the government. Now, talking about, pulling money together to set up aerophonic farms that will further help, to produce abundant crops between 1 to 3 months. So there's a lot of ways we should look at this. The government doesn't take the only blame. The individuals or organizations that organized it, that in the case of your state, they were arrested, they cannot be the only persons to take the blame. We must look at the people. When do we stop behaving like animals and behave like people? You get to a place, wait, let things get to your turn. People will not have had to die. Does it happen like this in other parts of the world, like consecutively? And I really do go with Tolulokwe this morning, but it's been a wild, in the past couple of days, losing people. 67 just to get right. Sometimes the problem is that the rest is not even enough. What quantity? Because if you look at it, the bag of rice might have been shared into 5 cups and we're attempting to share them in cellophane bags, and that's what you're losing an entire life for. Some of those mothers have left children, husbands, families, and remember that some of those women are the breadwinners of their family. What then happens to the families that they left behind? It's a sad story. We have our part to play as citizens. The government does, private individuals. You that is a greedy market person at this point, you also have a part to play. The blood of this people is also in your hand, because you know that this thing can be sold at 1,000 naira, but no. Inflation has hit everything, so you now take it to 2,500. I just go to I go to purchasing points now and I just wait a bit and have a good laugh when I hear the prices of things. But it's been such a sad event in Nigeria. We do hope that we can call ourselves to address and let's, just face it. Let government do what they gotta do. Let people do what they gotta do, and private citizens also. But that's it. We'll just take a quick pause, rest on the stories, and there's several other conversations, that we're having on Rise and Shine this morning. Stay with us.